Social disorganization is the theory that was developed by Clifford Shaw and Harry Mackay, which they developed a model that could accurately show and explain why certain neighborhoods have a higher crime rate than others. They were able to identify that the neighborhoods with the highest crime rates usually have three common problems. These problems were known as physical dilapidation, poverty, and heterogeneity, according to Shaw and McKay. Furthermore, they were able to notice that these neighborhoods also many transitioning people, signifying that people would move in and out constantly on those neighborhoods. All of these three aspects strongly affected most neighborhoods since they would result in elevated crime rates and more illegal activities. In fact, the theory proposed that all of these social problems and masterpieces would consequently cause the community to become disorganized, in a sense that they would not share values and ideas, since all of them were so different to each other due to these reasons I stated. A high unemployment rate across neighbors was also a factor of high crime rates. This is due to the fact that unemployed people would live in harsher conditions than people who have a job, sharing then different perspectives of life, which would eventually result in more crimes from the unemployed community in order to get some money, some income. This event could be described as a cause and effect situation because most of the crimes occur because of all of these factors combined. These social issues lead to a breakdown in the society which anticipates teenagers and minors to engage in deviant behavior. The reason for this is that the adults are not capable to give the appropriate education to the children and the morals they should have. The older kids also influence younger children to engage in criminal behavior. By simply hanging with them and to not feel displacement inside a group, they would do the same thing as the older kids. This is even seen in the Bobo doll experiment, as minors would watch a model hitting a Bobo doll and they would replicate the same behavior as the model. Now, I know that they were kids and not teenagers, and of course, this would not impact teenagers, but we can see that this is a basis to the fact that teenagers, well, minors in general, learn from older people and are capable to replicate their criminal activities. Other example to this should apply as when minors are with older people and they see them smoking and drinking alcohol or doing anything else that is, let's say, illegal or morally wrong. They are actually most likely to join them and engage on the same behaviors. A few of these teenagers would have the personality to just stay out of it when others are doing it. A few of these people would tell the other teenagers in the group, that they do not want anything to do with that, since they're in a small group, so they would not feel displaced. A few of these teenagers would have this kind of personality. So ultimately, the failure of the neighborhood residents to organize themselves allows the older youth to govern the behavior of the younger children. Basically, the older youth in the area provide a system of organization where the neighborhood cannot, so younger children follow them instead, according to the book. Even though the theory was effective and it helped to reduce crime in most disorganized neighborhoods, it still received a lot of negative feedback as time passed by. Some critics disapproved this concept. They believed that they did not focus on catching the cause of social disorganization. Moreover, critics noted that their model did not focus on why children in disorganized neighborhoods did not become offenders. Well, Shaw and McKay strongly thought this model was still effective despite any controversy. According to the book, despite the criticisms and weaknesses of the Chicago school perspective of criminology, this theory resulted in one of the largest programs to date attempting to reduce delinquent rates, according to the book as well. This was quoted by the book. Although most programs in the cities don't reduce deviant behavior, it is a start for reducing crime in most neighborhoods. And it can also provide a lot more resources and educational programs for families. I would like to go back to delinquency since Shaw and McKay brought that up with their concept of social disorganization. There were actually 4 specific assumptions of social disorganization as an explanation of delinquency. First of all, delinquency is mainly the consequence of a collapse of institutional, community-based controls. The people who live in these situations are not personally disoriented. Instead, they are viewed as responding naturally to disorganized environmental conditions. Second, the disorganization of community-based institutions is often a result of rapid industrialization, urbanization, and immigration processes that occur primarily in urban areas. Third, the effectiveness of social institutions and the desirability of residential and business locations correspond closely to natural ecological principles that are influenced by the concepts of competition and dominance. This assumption associates the term ecological approach with the social disorganization explanation of delinquency. The fourth assumption is that socially disorganized areas lead to the development of criminal values and traditions that replace conventional ones, and they are self-perpetuating. 4 distinct conclusions resulted from Shaw and McKay's research. First, the rates of juvenile delinquency were consistent with an ordered spatial pattern. The highest rates were found in the inner city areas and declined with distance from the center of the city. Second, there was an identical spatial pattern reviewed by various other indexes of social problems. And third, the spatial pattern of delinquency rates showed significant long-term stability, even though the nationality structure of the population in the inner city areas changed greatly throughout the decades. Lastly, with inner city areas, the course of becoming delinquent occurred through a network of interpersonal relationships involving family, gangs, and the neighborhood. Seeing that the same neighborhoods had practically the same delinquency rate in spite of which ethnic group moved in. Shaw and McKay established that all nationality groups evidence the same rate of juvenile delinquency in the same urban areas, and the nationality is not vitally related to juvenile delinquency, according to Shaw. They determined actually that delinquency was tied to the neighborhoods and was not the result of the personal characteristics of the people who lived in them, but the result of a strong neighborhood effect. This was The Social Disorganization by Shaw and McKay.